please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome back to a Megon 2 Electric Boogaloo. I'm going to apologise in advance if the audio doesn't sound like it usually does. I'm using a backup microphone after my Yeti died. F in the comments down below. Today we're going to be responding to a video concerning fatphobia, a subject that makes me chuckle to no end because that doesn't exist. Like delicious Brussels sprouts and a totally never disappointed in a football team fan. The reason why is because a video was being shared via Twitter and it tickled me, as it often does. I will, over the course of this video, go into reasons as to why. The obvious one being, apparently, much like groups, cults, there is zero chance of a reality where you can never truly win, because any excuse can be made for why you are perpetually in the wrong, especially if you do not support, blindly support, without any iota of critical thought, the group that is championing an idea that does not stack up to any intellectual scrutiny.
It's been a while since we had this conversation, but in case we needed a reminder, the idea of clothing being flattering is inherently fatphobic.
Fatphobia is defined as weight bias, sometimes also called fatphobia or weight stigma, the negative attitudes and stereotypes surrounding and attached to larger bodies. Further, fatphobia is an abnormal and irrational fear of being fat or being around fat people. Nowhere within the current definition is there in fact any information pertaining to that, correlating to that, of clothing as well being flattering. This is vitally important, because then we have to acknowledge that definitions have to change when others insert new parameters, which essentially can be boiled down to the following. Apparently, you being anything but fat is also fatphobic. You wearing clothes that look good on you is fatphobic. You holding a phone in your hand and not your hoof is fatphobic. You holding a fork that is not the size of a pitchfork to eat your food is fatphobic. You being able to walk up a flight of stairs is fatphobic. You being able to walk up multiple flights of stairs while skipping steps in the middle is fatphobic. You buying a new watch and having the strap brought in so that it fits your smaller wrist to that of somebody who has an arm as thick as a tree trunk is fatphobic. But for the sake of this video, we're going to stick with clothing, which is something I have yet to come across, but does further prove the original point that there is no version of any reality where you can ever get something right when it comes to certain cults. In this one, it is body positivity or the fat acceptance cult movement or bowel movement, because there's no actual movement from their bodies. The concerted hobby of putting on as much weight as possible and maintaining it requires vast amounts of effort to sit in one place and do sod all day.
Bodies exist and fat bodies exist, and the fat on people's body exists.
I don't think anyone's denying they exist. I think some manufacturers have gone out of their way to make sure that those who have those by choice larger bodies are able to look the best version that they can look. Because if you're not wearing any clothes, I can promise you this, the version of you we see on camera right now won't be so pushed up, and also won't look anywhere near as flattering. One wants to be as confident as they can be. Just to be told repeatedly but your body is beautiful is not enough. Humanity seeks perfection in everything, and many strive towards it and eventually find a version of it that they accept. Others, a vast majority in fact, do not. And so they continue, they persist. You are sat on a couch telling everyone that fat bodies exist and that clothing that is flattering is fatphobic. Your logic so far is flawed, but I'm sure given more time you'll be able to articulate a rather tasty response. Yes, logical too, no doubt.
You are welcome to make the choice to try and hide it, minimize it, and do whatever you would like.
Wearing clothes that are flattering might do something to, let's say, reduce the presence of what you have, yes? But the reality is, say you're trying to court somebody, it can be considered a form of catfishing to hide you, yes? Also, isn't this a little ironic from somebody who is wearing a top that is intended to make you look a bit more flattering up top, right? I guess the semantics over the word flattering are applicable here.
You are welcome to wear clothing that accentuates the smallest parts of your body in order to make you look and feel smaller or feel flattered by the clothing.
Okay, so we're going to hold off on the obvious jokes there concerning small. The irony of someone like this saying small to make it seem like they're making a larger point. Yes, they're all fairly obvious. I think, first of all, it's your body, your choice, your clothing, your choice. You wear whatever you want. Yes, that's fine. Believe whatever you think is true, factual, okay, resonates best with your frequency within this realm or multiverse. Yes, okay. Personally, I like wearing clothes that fit, that are comfortable, that are baggy, but not so baggy as to make people think that I am carrying unnecessary weight that in any way inhibits my ability to move. But the ultimate decision rests on me as to the kind of body I want. There is nothing wrong with that. I want things that are flattering, but I also want things that are functional. That is easier to attain, I've noticed, if you are female. And the reason why is because men's bodies hold weight very weirdly. Women have larger hips, shorter shoulders. Men have bigger shoulders, smaller hips. If they hold their weight on their gut, on a guy, you have issues finding shirts that fit that aren't long enough for the body to hide the gut. Men also, for the most part, don't wear leggings, so they can't bind things anywhere near as easily as women can. If anyone thinks that that is sexist, get help.
I do not have to do that. I simply have to be comfortable in the body and skin that I have. And in doing so, I get to wear clothing however I want to.
Good for you. Good for you finding the acceptance you need as part of the grieving process that you will never truly be beach body ready. That's an old joke if you don't get it. That's unfortunate. Many others are very conscious, self-aware, and they spend most of their lifetime trying to find ways to make it so that things are easier for them in the long run. And that's understandable because you get a fairly lengthy life, you humans. If you choose early on to reduce it by X number of years because you've decided the easier way out is more preferable, i.e. what you're doing or not doing, then that is your choice. But as humanity is quite judgy, you will find many will find a way to judge you harshly, as they are well within their right to, when you become a burden to them, and you will at some point become a burden to another person.
There's an influencer on this app who I love and has a catchphrase that makes me so happy all of the time that says, if it looks like you can fit it, then you better go and get it.
Would I be right to assume that you have used this and employed this quite vehemently in the food section of life? Yes, if you can fit it in your belly, then you put it in your belly. Nothing wrong with that. I find that chocolate has the same effect on me. Yogurt, Nutri-Grains, and whiskey. I do like myself a quality single malt. Dickheaded comments aside, we do need to address something else. The elephant in the room that is not a sly dig at you. The very idea of fatphobia. It is a rather novel way of trying to make it seem like you are worthy of being put on a pedestal with others that claim they are discriminated because marginalised group. Yet as obesity is on the rise, and it has been for a while in many nations, can you really consider yourself a marginalised group when you make up such a large number of people within the country you are complaining from? To be phobic of being fat is a legitimate reason to be afraid. To be afraid of fat people for many different reasons can also be regarded as a valid reason, whether that be because you think they might fall on you. That's valid. If you can't see your feet, how can you be sure where you're putting them? There is a lot more to this, and I have a feeling I'm going to have to get that out of my system before the end of this video. So we'll continue and then I'll make the points when I need to.
Something like that. It's like a song that just plays in my head repeatedly. Which tells you that ultimately at the end of the day, you get to wear clothing however you would like to. You
realise then that the original point of this, that clothing that is flattering is fatphobic then, is a redundant comment to make. Your wider point is moot, because there's no validity to your point when you've then said that if it's flattering, it's fatphobic. I assume we're all going to start wearing clothes that are very much unflattering. For people with longer bodies, they wear shorter shirts. Those with shorter legs wear longer leg trousers. Those with bigger legs, of course, wear skinny jeans. Right? Your point about what is or is not fatphobic has lost its meaning. Additionally, I'm sure many people are lining up now to thank you for giving them the permission to wear whatever they want. That's really kind of you to say. Very thoughtful of you to, from your podium, grant such a lofty concession.
And the only thing that a piece of clothing needs to do is fit you the way that you want it to.
I kinda want to rinse-repeat the flattering comment here, because it does seem applicable. Because if you want the clothing to be flattering in how it fits you, yes, flattering is a part of that, then the person wearing it has to choose as to whether or not they also want to be known as being fatphobic because of the clothing being what they want it to be. We need to unlearn this stuff, you know, these preferences. The world just needs to become one giant ball of fat. Just imagine life in a space equivalent to that of the Atlantic Ocean, but just filled with fat and sentience and Twinkies. As all human life will have devolved down to liquid form, we can call it the Great Link of Fat.
So before we make these comments, maybe stop and think about whether or not the person on the other side of the screen asked if the outfit was flattering. And if you don't like it, just move along.
Wait. So the original point wasn't clothing being flattering, it's people saying clothing being flattering. For your entire video, you never mentioned that. You don't allude to that either. You sit on your high horse, which is low down because there's no way you can get up on the high horse, in your clothes that could be considered flattering if someone likes this, you, yes, right, finds you attractive, I'm sure not many. And you then espouse an idea of what is acceptable, not acceptable, while conceding that ultimately the decision of what one wears is down to the individual because if someone else says it's flattering, they're the problem. Okay, this is the level of pressure we're dealing with, folks.